and Station Houston on 2 for Nick. We have a upcoming Russian PO in the lab, and so if you could take your comm with Scuba over to Space to Ground 4, we'd much appreciate that.
Over to 4. Thanks, Wilson.
Ну как, ребята, вы готовы? Настроились?
Well, are you guys ready? All set up and everything? Are we ever not ready?
Отлично. Ну тогда мы вас по возможности уже передадим ребятам.
Right, well, whenever possible, we're going to hand you over to the PO folks.
Вы можете видеть этапы проектирования кронштейна элементов топливной системы. Эту задачу, как и несколько других, дала нам компания OHB Шведен. Это европейская космическая компания.
Ребят, я прошу прощения. Сами понимаете, международная космическая...
Guys, we have to interrupt this because we have a rare opportunity to talk to the space station right now. Like I said, we have International Space Station, Alexei Ovchinin and Alexander Skvortsov. Greetings from the city of Tomsk. Greetings from up on the International Space Station. We have you loud and clear, and we are happy to answer your questions to the best of our ability.
Well,
excellent. Boys and girls, who's ready? Don't be shy.
Скажите, пожалуйста, какой этап полета, по вашему мнению, является самым ответственным?
My question is, which part of your increment or flight is the most critical? Well, I think that all of them are critical. Because if any part of your flight is left ignored, then that's asking for a nominal situation. So everything needs to stay nominal, everything needs to go without a hitch, without a glitch, so you need to monitor and be mentally ready for anything. So any and all parts of your flight are critical.
Сразу же еще один вопрос из образовательного центра «Сириус», и готовится у нас Королев.
Next question.
Хорошо?
Здравствуйте, Саева Лена. Несколько раз с борта МКС производился запуск малых космических аппаратов. Как, на ваш взгляд, удобнее?
Several times we've noticed that you launch small satellites from on board the station. How do you feel would be the best way to automate this process? Well, I think that's a very promising field, and it would be better not to do it during spacewalks the way it's been done so far. But when we have our MLM module, it will be equipped with a airlock that will give us capability to launch these small satellites without it leaving the station. So to optimize this is to give us some cost savings, and that's the direct route to that.
Спасибо. Следующий вопрос задает у нас Королев. Королев готов? Королев готов?
Гораздо опасений при проведении химических, физических и биологических экспериментов используете ли вы инновационные модули?
Do you ever interact with any physical, biological, chemical experiments on American modules? In addition to the Russian segment payloads, we also interact with our partners, science. As recently as this morning, I started work on a European experiment called Plasma Crystal 4. As part of that experiment run, we'll be examining the particle behavior, a similar size particle behavior in the magnetic field in microgravity. It's a very interesting experiment, and I started it, like I said, this morning. In addition to that, we also support such joint experiments as fluid shifts, which is a medical experiment, which targets the study of space flight impacts upon human body, and a variety of other experiments.
Спасибо. А готов ли Том быть следующим и задать свой вопрос?
Next question from Tomsk.
Томск, мы вас не слышим.
We can't hear you, Tomsk. Can you guys hear us now?
Слышите?
Because we can't hear you.
Пока не слышим.
Я предлагаю сделать так. Давайте сейчас мы запустим видео-вопрос из Белорецка, Республика Башкортостан.
Why don't we skip Tomsk and go over to pre-recorded video question from the city of Belaretsk? The question is, we know that you have daily runs on treadmill and Velo. Can you tell us how much you need to run each day on the treadmill and how much time that takes? I just wanted to compare and see if it takes less time when I do it on Earth. each crew member is involved in physical training on a daily basis. It takes 2.5 hours each day. Usually, that time allocation is broken up into 2 sessions on the Russian segment at least, and it's mandatory treadmill every day for 1 hour. And the second part is either ARIT force loading training device that's on the USOS, or a Velo that's also on the Russian segment. Yeah, we have special protocols that we use that takes several days. You do it for 3 days on a specially designed timeline on Velo, and then it's a free run for the 4th day, which basically whatever we want to do it. There's active and passive mode on our treadmills. You know, we stagger those modes. You can adjust the speed, jogging or running speed. And I can tell you that an average distance that we cover every day is anywhere from 4 to 5 kilometers.
Спасибо. Следующий вопрос из Сочи и готовится Том.
Добрый день, меня зовут Гуреев Никита, я представляю проект «Космолат». У меня вопрос напрямую связан с проведением экспериментов. Какую автоматизацию проведения экспериментов на МКС вы считаете уместной?
Next question. What do you feel the degree of automation should be allowed as far as it pertains to the experiments on board the station by way of facilitating your work and making it easier for you as crewmates? There's plenty of room for automation across the board on board the station, and the way I see it is as follows. Let's say we're getting ready to do an experiment. We've got all the hardware set up and pre-deployed and everything. We've got all the chemical components, for example, if that's what we're going to be doing and using. We get everything running, initiating the experiment, and while the experiment runs, we need to monitor. Some media, some elements may need to be changed during that run, but the experiment itself, it should be happening in an automatic mode as much as possible. It'll free up a bunch of time, because when you're up here on station, we have a variety of activities, and spending a lot of time on just one experiment is not desirable. So crew time needs to be alleviated as much as possible without reducing the scope and significance of experiments. If we automate our payloads more, we'll be able to knock out more experiments per unit of time, and therefore get more scientific data, results, and data points. Next question from Tomsk.
Да, мы готовы. Слушаем вас. Здравствуйте. На сегодняшний день все большую популярность набирает тема роевого взаимодействия спутников. Итак, наш вопрос. Как в космосе проявляется роевое взаимодействие спутников и какое имеет значение? Спасибо.
Inaudible. Unfortunately, we did not copy your question. Can you repeat?
Как в космосе проявляется роевое взаимодействие? Спутников и какое имеет значение? Роевое взаимодействие спутников, как проявляется в космосе и какое имеет значение?
How do you test satellite interaction in space, and what's the significance of that? Well, space is manned flights and unmanned satellite flights, and so in this case what's important is the interaction of satellites that engage with ISS. So we ask you to restate your question, and for an example, let's say satellite supported communication gets a little worse and we're not, all of a sudden not able to hear you. But satellites that give us GPS capability is very important for you as it is for us on station. There are satellites that support science, planetary sciences, so that interaction should be set up and maintained even in linear relationships, because if there's a satellite, there's some kind of a need for it. So for you, for example, when you make a decision as to who to become in life, the satellites that will be important for your goals, you'll be using them. That's the nature of interaction. So no matter what the goal is, the interaction of all the interrelated components is critical.
Спасибо. Давайте следующий вопрос с основной площадки. Готовится Королев.